Oh, holy cussed bovine. I know we know the script and how this movie's gonna end and all, but this stuff's like that Blades of Glory movie, man. It's mind-boggling. It really is. It's been insane to watch them say the stuff they've been saying this week about the stock market correction and all this, what have you. Holy cow. So, I made this video back in August, late August, early September, something like that. It's called Jack Ryan. The movie Jack Ryan says hurricane in the Gulf, false flag in the USA, then dollar collapse. All right, so I said this. The Federal Reserve saying they're going to try to start unwinding their balance sheet next month. What coincidental timing? And in other words, they're saying they're going to start taking the drugs away from the drug addicted market. So that ought to end up well. Okay, and then.
No, and then. And then. No, and then. And then. No, and then. And then. No, and then.
This was said several months down the road later, February 8th, on Bloomberg television in reference to why the stock market dipped another 1,000 points just a few days after the first correction of 1,175. So this is why this is happening.
777. And of course, Heidi, as you know, bond yields ticked higher, shot higher again today. Stocks fell. It's the same thing. And when I spoke to President Bill Dudley from the New York Fed, he said markets are repricing. They're realizing the economy is stronger. Central banks, not just the Fed, are moving toward tightening. And the Bank of England, Mark Carney, made the statement about needing to probably raise rates a little bit faster, a little more aggressively.
See, exact same thing I said several months prior, except for she used the word tightening. Unwinding, tightening, tapering. It's all the same thing. It's all reference to them taking drugs away, free drugs away to the drug-addicted market. And like I said, right, it won't end well. And what happened that day that the reality of this set into the market? Down 1,175 points, biggest drop in one day ever. And then a few days later, another negative 1,000 points. So I reiterated this in a video I made a few days ago, February 8th, called More Twins, whenever this stuff was happening here real time, and said this. If you've ever been in hundreds of thousands of jobs, this is supposed to happen because that's why they inflated the market and they threw all the stimulus and QE into the markets because the economy sucks. Well, now the economy is, quote, roaring back to life, so now the central bank's got to take that drug. They got to take them drugs away from the drug addicts and say, you guys are doing okay on your own now. You don't need our drugs anymore. And as you can see how the market's reacting, not so good, which is what we've been, I said that about at least in August or September. Now let's hear from someone else on this correction. This is from a bankster from Wells Fargo, this errand boy for psychopaths. Let's hear what he has to say about the situation the next day, February 9th.
Similar to what we're seeing right now, because what we're seeing is monetary policies is starting to come off the table, and so stocks need to stand by themselves. And in addition to that, we were in such a low vol regime for so long that had to stop. And so I think we're just going back to something that's more normal at this point in time.
So then why?
There it is again, word for word, except for he just didn't use the word drugs. Here it's put another way. Stock turmoil persists amid rate jitters. Raising interest rates, unwinding, tapering, tightening, it's all the same thing. You're talking about taking the drugs away from a drug-addicted market. It's real simple, really easy for everyone to understand. It's that easy. This is just like that Fox News article that I posted about a couple days ago, or last week I think it was, where I can't even remember the small town had 2,900 people, and Fox News reported how pharmaceutical companies, two out-of-state pharmaceutical companies, literally shipped in 20 million pain pills to a town of 2,900 people. That's what's happened. I know it's not the numbers aren't right, but it's just an example. So you got 2,900 traders in the stock market. The central banks and the Federal Reserve flooded the stock market with 20 million pain pills, and now these 2,900 traders are like, hey, we need those 20 million pain pills and more. And the pharmaceutical companies, aka the banksters and the government corporations, are all saying, no, you guys are good now. You're good. You can stand on your own. No, they can't. And they won't. And sure, the drug addict can get clean, but guess what? Detox is a very painful and chaotic time. And just like I reported on a couple days ago from Carl Denninger here at the Market Ticker, got to give credit where credit's due. This piece is awesome. I'm going to use several of his pieces in this video. This was the day after the big drop, the first big drop. Is this the crash? Almost certainly not. First, it is extremely unlikely for a market to crash from a spike high. But this is history that's going to repeat all over again. Just like in 2007, when the underlying breakage happened in the spring, and yet it was a year and some change later before it all went to crap. There will be a delay this time too, because there will be more lies, more fraud, and more cover-ups. It will continue until it can't, but trust me on this, it can't, just like it didn't last time. It's math. Now take a listen to this same clown. Listen to the stuff they're saying about this market. This is insanity.
The end of the year. So the rest of the forecasts are always this. Do credit markets start to seize? Does liquidity come out of the marketplace? Is there a shock to the system? The shock to the system, we can't predict the shock, so we kind of stay away from that. When we look at credit, when we look at liquidity, it still seems pretty healthy. When we look at bank balance sheets are in good place, credit spreads are tight, and so we still see a lot of liquidity in the marketplace. So that makes us somewhat constructive. But yes, there's always a possibility of something unknown or a shock coming to the system.
So there's an incentive for liquidity providers to enter the marketplace right now.
Right, that's right. So as price changes, what you see is there's an incentive, there's a reward to come back into the marketplace. Now when I invest in equities, what we're looking at is 17.
You see, that guy's sick. That stuff, I can't believe it. I love it. I mean, I get it. I know this place is upside down, crazy town banana pants. I get that. I do, but it's hilarious to see these people go on their straight face, man. These guys are psychos, and they're awesome at it. They are awesome at it. They just go out there straight face. Yeah, man. Everything looks great. Liquidity looks great. See, I can't even do it. Liquidity looks great. Balance sheets look great. There's no stumbling, no stammering. They just bam. Everything's great, everybody. Come on in. The water's just fine. There's rewards. There's incentives for everybody to get back in this market. And then right out of the same side of his, a different side of his mouth, same mouth, different side. I mean, he says, well, we don't really can't really predict these corrections or these shocks, and they can happen anytime. But yeah, come on in. Throw your money at us. That's what we need. I mean, is knucking futz. So, and then on top of this guy is seriously coming out and saying all this stuff, right? And at the same time, this $1 trillion tax cuts passed, and then this budget that just kicks the can down the road for another year. Then this budget on top of it's passed for another $300 billion. So we're talking $1.3 trillion that was just borrowed in like 6 weeks. And this guy's seriously saying, yeah, come on in. 3 more Crazy Carl. This is posted 5 a.m. on Friday before the market was up big time. You think you can run another $300 billion plus worth of government spending this year and not have the market blow up? Guess what? You're wrong. Is it going to bounce somewhere? You bet. Probably furiously, and maybe right now. And he was right. Thus, the market will probably bounce north hard. Yep. And then it will all go to crap. All of it. Interest rates, stock prices, house prices, commercial real estate, and the broader economy. Since almost everything in assets markets is now levered to a degree that is close to double what it was in 2007, with some of the worst of the leverage on government balance sheets. Like that guy told you, balance sheets are great. All that leverage on government balance sheets, including ours. Your tax cuts just came right out of your 401k, and that's getting started. A huge number of names were hammered by 5% yesterday alone. So good luck. For I know you're going to need it, since you will get off your ass and demand that Congress and Trump cut the crap. And as a result, I fully expect that just like in 2007, when nobody listened, when the opportunity to interrupt the pattern was there, and I was in fact sending faxes to all 535 members of Congress full of data, charts, and facts, nobody this time will either. And this time around, when it all blows up, the outcome will be much worse than it was in 2008. So yep. All this was just reassurance to anyone who doubts this bull market, to anyone who doubts that what goes up must come down. They're telling you, yep, it's going to come down, just not right now, just not today. But we do kind of have an idea, though, now, don't we? Because if anything, if history is any kind of guide, it'll be sometime next year. Because if this happened in 2007 and in a year or some change later it all went down, I don't see why this would be any different. But at the very least, we know it's sometime between now and late December 2020. Because of the dance going on in the heavens, right? With Saturn moving and moved into Capricorn, now it's going to sit there for 2 years. And you got Jupiter and Pluto and all the other planets. I mean, it's not just one doing one thing. They're all dancing and moving around together. And whenever these alignments and what have you take place. As I've shown before, they say that society resets and government resets and monetary system resets and restructuring all take place whenever these kind of dances in the heavens happen, like they're happening now. Saturn moving and moved into Capricorn. It's going to sit there for 2.5 years, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And it's happening all right on time. Saturn enters Capricorn, will remain until March 23rd, 2020. You'll be able to see in the meantime tyranny, the abuse of power and corruption, organized crime, criminal activities, issues with the monetary system and banks and wars. Yeah, you can say this stuff happens all the time, but not to this degree. Never before have we ever been on the edge like we are now. It's because between now and 2020, these old systems are going to be restructured into quote-unquote new ones. And a whole new way of life is going to take place because we're in the age of Aquarius now. It's a different age. It's a different way of doing things. And here's a good one anyway to go ahead and debunk this coincidental bullshit once and for all. Here it is from November 14th, 2016. So whenever it talks about Saturn, Capricorn, 2020, blah, 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 when Uranus moves into Taurus in 2018, the revolution of currency, the financial system, food, and agriculture will begin. When Uranus moves into Taurus in 2018, the revolution of currency, the financial system, will begin. That's exactly what just happened. The revolution of the financial system begun this week. The biggest crash, biggest correction ever happened the first week of February 2018. So I'm sorry. It's supposed 2 years ago. I'm not gonna knock this. And I think Crazy Carl knows. I think he does. Because he posts these pictures that his daughter paints that he sells on this website here, and they're always very celestial and very cosmic, and it's been making me wonder, I wonder if he knows about this stuff. And it's funny because he's been referencing a meteor strike or an asteroid strike facetiously a whole lot over these last several months. Just makes jokes like, haha, sure be funny if a meteor hit the stock market, or boy, sure hope an asteroid doesn't land on Congress's head, stuff like that. And in fact, one of these pictures just like a couple weeks ago that he said his daughter painted, it was called like The Last City. Again, like all these planetary alignments, and there was all these waves hitting a city. And I can't help but just think whenever he posts stuff like this, so this was the end of this very volatile, record-breaking stock market week, right? Now what? Bear or bull? But he didn't say bear or bull, did he? He said both Taurus. Almost like he knew that, like this thing said, right? When Uranus moves into Taurus in 2018, the revolution, the financial system will begin. He just happened to say, bear or bull, but use the word Taurus. And they tell you right here, Dow plunges, first correction in 2 years. Last time was February 2016. So I honestly think, so since 2016 was a 2-year warning, I think the Vegas shooting was a 2-year warning. I think in October, sometime between now and the fall, just like in the fall of 2008, it'll be the fall of 2009, maybe, I don't know. I think it was a 2-year warning that the stock market's going to crash. Because that movie's been, bang on right. Whenever I made that video, that Jack Ryan movie video, I made it in the middle, I can't remember, like very end of August or early September. And I said, hey man, this movie says there'll be a hurricane in the Gulf, there'll be a mass terrorist attack or some sort of big terrorist attack on U.S. soil, and the American economy will collapse. So if this hurricane in the Gulf and Hurricane Harvey or whatever, if this is the Gulf storm it's talking about, then we can expect some sort of terrorist attack or mass attack on U.S. soil, and then we can expect the American economy to collapse sometime after that. And when you know, like 6 weeks later, we had the quote-unquote worst shooting ever. And then what is it? That was in October. And so then what is it? 4 months later, we have the biggest drop in correction in stock market history, to where everybody's like, holy shit, what's going on? I think there's something to that. So I think if we got a 2-year warning in 2016 that we were going to get the beginning of the end 2 years later in February 2018, well, I kind of feel like Jack Ryan might have been a warning in 2017, 2 years later, fall of 2019, or maybe it'll be this year, maybe it'll be the fall of this year. I don't know. I think that movie's pretty accurate. I mean, that's pretty amazing if you ask me. And the Vegas was to let you know because that's where whenever I mean, in my opinion, but that Hoover Dam is going to break. I mean, shit, they've shown it in a bunch of movies, even that San Andreas. That's going to be the birth of, that's the beginning, quote unquote, the birth of the new age officially. So that 2-year warning taking place out there in Vegas, out there in Nevada, and where that Hoover Dam is, and whenever that thing will go, who knows? But sometime between now and 2020, maybe. Either way, just crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be fun to watch them bullshit their way through this. I want to see more people saying, "Yeah, everything's totally good. Balance sheets look great. Everything looks great. Everybody, give us your money." Thank you to my subscribers, and see you on the next video. Yep.